Hey, Dean Gazowski with 3D Property Solutions. I've got a bit of a rant or venting session that I just need to get out in the open now, and it has to do with generational wealth. Okay, we primarily deal with investment style properties, although we deal with retail sales, and we work a lot in the probate sector. Probate is when there's a death in the family. Somebody dies, they pass away, they leave real estate. Okay, now there's ways to protect your family as you move through this process. You can set up trusts, you can set up wills. You, as the homeowner or house seller, can set your family up to win moving forward through life. Now, wills, typically when they're in place, they will order what your wishes are to have ultimately, if you have a house, it's going to go through probate. If you have a will, if you have a trust, that's how you best protect your actual wishes. So a will order what your wishes are, and then you're going to have a scenario where you still have to go in front of the judge, and the judge will order. Typically they rule with what the wishes are in the will. So the reason why I'm a little bothered on this right now is because I've actually had a couple different phone calls today that revolve around, let's call it a poverty mindset, okay? You got people that are just looking for a house to live, which I get, all right? You want to take care of your family, but there's an entitled mentality that revolves around this as well, and you've got people that have, 4 family members at this one particular situation that I'm dealing with that are fighting over a house, okay? This house is maybe worth $70,000 after it's sold on the open market, maybe $70,000, but there's $47,000 mortgage against this. So if we're just using round math, there's $20,000 potentially in equity after realtor fees and stuff like that. So the family members have got to split that equally, typically, when we're dealing with the courts. So, but what I'm seeing over and over, and I've witnessed this a couple times over the past week, literally, no exaggeration, a couple times over the past week, there is a generation out here that has been partying for so long, they have no vision, and they don't know how to handle finances, okay? You have a responsibility to take care of your family. It's not the government's job to take care of your family. It is your responsibility to take care of your family and set them up to win. And people are just moving into properties, and they're eventually not going to be able to stay there because they're too busy with the short-term process. Take, rather than figure out a way to negotiate a way to basically buy the house. Okay, there's ways to do this. I'm reminded of a deal that I was exposed to this weekend, and I'm getting some documents signed, and the person that I'm signing the documents with says, hey, we've got a house over here that we'd like to sell as well. I'm like, well, let's go drive over there and look at that house. Let's have a look at it. And that's what we did. The house is beat up pretty good, but it's got a new roof. It seemingly has good bones. And, it's something I would consider buying. Okay, it's even got the lot next door to it that's all fenced in, and it's a nice little feature. But the house is vacant right now. So I begin to have a conversation with the potential seller. I ask questions like, well, why isn't anybody in the family picking this house up and living here? The short answer is nobody's financially responsible enough to move in over there, and their finances aren't in order, so they can't buy a house. They can't even structure anything to potentially rent that house and pay a fair market rent. I'm not judging anybody, but I'm just simply stating what my observations have been. Again, it is our responsibility to make sure that our families are taken care of, and that's why cash flow properties, income producing assets, and holding good quality real estate is so important in this world. Okay. We're heading into uncharted territory, right? It's always uncharted territory. That's why it's fun to say, right? But keep this in mind. Over time, I might catch a little bit of flack for this, but over time, the real estate market always goes up. Okay, why does it go up? The real estate market goes up because inflation is happening. It's not really a situation of deflation that we're handling here in this world. We've got a scenario where the dollar is consistently being devalued. What holds value? Your assets. Traditionally real estate, if you actually got a brick house, like a lot of these houses, I see them all the time. Actually, the phone call that inspired this particular video is I'm dealing with a house over in Detroit. It's a 2-story, one of these story and 3/4 houses. Tons of brick. It's a brick built house. Today's numbers, you're dealing with a bill more of. Let me put it this way. Currently worth probably about $75,000. There's more than $70,000 worth of brick in today's dollars that it would take to build that house. So how is this not a good decision to purchase a house like that? Now, sure, you got the interior to take into account and the mechanicals and everything else, but this is all part of maintaining a house. But at its core, if you can just find a place to call home, you secure yourself a house. Sure, houses take maintenance. They take money. They are hopefully not depreciating assets, right? But an actual physical home that you're living in as your primary residence, Robert Kiyosaki teaches that is more of a liability because it takes money and you're not able to write off the different things that you would be able to write off if it was an investment property in a cash flow type of a scenario. So something for you to think about there. But again, find a way to secure wealth for future generations, because long term, if you look at the Fred charts, okay, if you don't know what those are, reach out to me. If you look at the Fred charts, going all the way back to the 80s, 70s or 80s, back when interest rates were high, housing values were a little bit low, but as you progress through the next 30 to 40 years, you see that these housing prices have almost exploded, exponentially, increased in value, because you look at the average price of a home back in 1980, 84, I think was like $74,000 here in the state of Michigan, which seems like pretty high back there in that neck of the woods, that time frame. But present day, we're north of like 215. So over time, what I'm saying is that the price of the house goes up. And if you can borrow in today's dollars, having the thought process that interest rates are where they're at, sure, mortgages with your top-notch credit right now, you're going to get like right around 6%. What's inflation right now? Inflation's like 9. I don't know, I haven't checked the numbers in about a month. But that sounds like you're ahead of the game, 3%, if we're dealing with this type of growth. Inflation, 9%. You can borrow money at 6%. There's still a 3% gap. So I don't want to make big 20-minute videos here, but I do want to get these things out of my mind where they're coming about, because these are things that I'm observing in the market, and it's good information, right? But at its core, find ways to secure property for your family, because there might just be a day and age, and this is what a lot of the folks are saying in the background. The agendas for the big companies, they're trying to buy up all the rental properties or buying up all the properties, with Wall Street money to provide a return for their investors. Now they're going to turn those properties into rentals, which in turn provide cash flow for the hedge funds and the Wall Street companies that purchase or investing in these whatever you want to call them, their funds, basically. So Dean Gazowski with 3D Property Solutions. This is the logo in the lower end of the screen here. We are an investment firm in the sense where we provide real estate services. We buy houses, we sell houses, and we provide coaching for folks that need this. So if you have any questions whatsoever, please feel free to reach out to me. And my direct line over here is 248-940-1099. Buy those houses, hold them, and secure wealth for future generations. That's called the action today.